is Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss our memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Giff.
I don't like it when Pete does that. It really throws me off.
I'm Pete.
That's better. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. See, I am totally thrown. I don't know what to say now. I guess we'll just throw in that we have a fourth person with us because I don't know where else to go. So shout out your name.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Giff.
So you may remember Courtney from, you were on which game show?
Well, I did the Minnesota TV game show.
A TV game show, Minnesota TV. And then, of course, Billy Madison.
Yes, you let me
Did
pick.
you win that? Did you win that one?
I did not.
No,
actually,
it was Gifford
I
that
think
won.
I
You
I
did.
may have. Yeah.
That was the one that I ran, I think.
Yes, Pete ran.
Yes.
I ran it, and then
I
you
got
did
off to
well,
a hot
though,
start, and I fell apart, just like most competitions I'm in.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So
sure
anyway,
is.
tonight we're continuing 2018. So last week we interviewed Shelley Herman. Hopefully you enjoyed that. But we did finish off by drafting our favorite movies and TV of the year. And we are going to get into some of the things from that year now for the next 3 weeks. So
What's
tonight
that,
is
Brad?
what's that, Pete?
No, I'm asking you. What's that? I was just
okay. I was asking you, Pete. Tonight is one of our and
you
more.
Tell us what it is.
Oh my God. Tonight is one of our and more episodes. As I was going through my list of things here, I realized that in 2018, my family took a spectacular vacation to Universal in Florida. And specifically because we wanted to go see the new Harry Potter Diagon Alley that had opened. We had actually seen, me and my wife had seen the original part of the park back in 2012. But since that time, they had opened a new part that is then connected by the Hogwarts Express. And in 2012, our kids didn't even go because they were too young and didn't care. So this time we went all together. And I was a little bit leery of this trip for a few reasons because my wife is just a huge Disney fan. And we went to Disney in 2012. And I'm like, well, we're going to go to Florida and we're not going to go to Disney. I was just very confused by that. But it turned out to be probably the best family vacation we ever took. Another reason I was a little nervous is because my son at his age was starting to become more of a teenager. And we were like, is he going to be like fun and cool on this trip? Or is he going to be like, act like he's not into it, even though he's a huge, huge Harry Potter fan at the time. And our daughter too, you just never know where they're going to go. But we got there, we had 4 days in the 3 parks. And we just kept going back over and over again. And the first thing we did is when we went into the first park, we went on the Gringotts ride first, which was a new ride at the time. But then we went into the Ollivanders, where you get your wands. And we saw the whole wand ceremony, and it was cool. But then at the end, and you hear about them like keeping people to pick their own wand. And we were the last ones to leave, and the guy stopped us and asked Isaac and Isla if they wanted to hang around and pick out their own wands there with him helping them. And so we got our own little private ceremony, and like he explained what was in them and he helped them pick the right one for them. And from there we were off and running, because if you walk around the park, you can use those wands. There's all these different things where you can like make stuff happen. And even though, so my son was he was 12. He was 12 years old. I was trying to make sure I got that right. 12 and a half. And he was walking around and he just got way into that. And my daughter did too. And it was a great time. And he was into everything. And we all were. And we rode that train and we went back and forth. And I've got more I'm going to say about this. But that's the reason why I picked this topic. So our topic tonight is kind of a smorgasbord, if you will.
Grab bag.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Harry Potter a little bit.
Potpourri.
It's
we're also gonna talk
smorgasbord. I
About
just thought it was smorgasbord.
we're going to talk about.
Oh my God.
parks
We could talk about
because
that.
I thought theme parks were a pop culture type of a topic. And then we're going to finish by talking about family vacations, because I added that one more so to make sure Giff could get involved because he's the smallest Harry Potter fan here.
He's the smallest Harry Potter fan.
But it all fit
I'm
together.
the smallest wand.
So that trip was amazing, and I'll probably say more about it when we get to the family vacations part. But it could not have gone any better. And our whole family loved Harry Potter. My son had read all the books at least once or twice by that time. We watched all the movies before we left. I had just finished reading all the books. And my wife she's a huge fan too. And so even though we didn't go to Disney, it turned out to be just fantastic. And I love theme parks and I love going on family vacations to those types of places. So that's how I came up with my topic for tonight. Anybody want to chime in on that before we get into our topics?
We had the same thing happen at Ollivanders. Jolie got the same experience where she got a wand, although they said that we were told that we had to pay for it.
Oh yeah, we bought them. No, we bought them.
Oh, okay. I thought you
it's
were
just
you were
special
like
because
you
they
just
tell
walked
you
out
they
and-
get you the right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we had the same thing happen. So
Nothing's free.
yeah, I know, and those they're not cheap either. Those things
No.
are like what, $80 or something. I don't
my
I don't
God.
remember what it was.
I was thinking 60. I don't remember though.
It might have been in that. I don't remember exactly, but we had a similar vacation down to Universal. Actually, it was over Christmas. We were down there actually over Christmas, so that we were there for like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and all of that kind of stuff. And the one experience I remember is that what's the Harry, not the Gringotts, which we did last, but or the Escape from Gringotts, which was a really cool ride. But there's the other like big wild one where you're actually in the castle.
Yeah, the Forbidden Journey.
Or the Forbidden Journey. I almost lost my iPhone on that one because it was just in my pocket. I was wearing shorts. I had it in my pocket. I didn't realize how much that ride like whips you around and you're watching. Yeah, it's like this big kind of screen that you're actually watching, but of course you feel like you're in it. But you're playing Quidditch is the bit, and my iPhone like fell all the way out of my pocket, and it was about to fly off the ride itself into the dark abyss. But luckily, I was able to catch it just before before it fell.
But it feels like a dark abyss. But aren't you just a few feet off the actual? Wouldn't it just be down on the ground when you?
When I looked, it would have been like a 15-foot drop.
Because you do move around a little bit, but it's more of that.
You're up in the air. You are up in the air, and I don't have any idea how I would have gotten it back because it's like you're all the way through the
Fly
building.
Over America. It's that kind of a ride.
Couldn't you use your magic wand to get it back?
Well, that's brilliant. That's
Okay.
So
I guess
we've
it's a
both
good
been
thing I
there,
didn't have to try
and
it.
Gifford, you have not, but you said Courtney has, and that's one of the reasons why she's
Oh.
on. So what do you?
I've read the books.
She hasn't been to the Harry Potter, but she's been to. I also brought her on because we're going to get into the theme park discussion later on. Whereas the Harry Potter stuff, she's more of a fan than I am as far as the books and the movies.
Well, I thought you said she had been to Universal.
Yeah, but this was like years before.
When I was 10 in
okay.
California.
So that
Okay.
would have been. This is more for the theme park bit later on.
Okay, well let's move to our first topic, which is just kind of your background with Harry Potter and how much you do know. So we'll start with you then, Courtney.
In 2004, when I got pregnant with Sam, I decided to start reading the Harry Potter books. And I read 1 through 5 while I was pregnant with Sam. And then when he was born, July of 2005 came the 6th book. And I remember buying it and sitting, just to get out of the house, I went and sat in the Target cafe and read it. Because I had a newborn. And then I had to wait with everyone else for 2 years to read the last book.
Oh, so you were on it early.
Yes.
Okay.
And have you watched all the movies?
Well, Brian and I were going to do that, and then we didn't. Whenever they're on, I watch them.
I've seen the first one probably a couple times, bits and pieces of other ones if I happen to see they're on, and I'll check it out, but it's not like I've watched a bunch of them. My closest encounter with Harry Potter would have been in Dayton's, I think was that 2000 or 2001 when we all went You know, they have a floor dedicated each year around
Christmas.
Christmas.
That was
And-
Harry Potter the year we went with you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Really?
Well, we might have went more than once, but that
Huh.
was one of the years where it was Harry
I
Potter.
remember them doing Harry
That
Potter.
seems so long ago, like it would have been before. I know they did it, but
Yeah.
that particular year seems like way before that would have been.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never heard of Harry Potter. I didn't know what the hell it was. Courtney was thinking it was before.
He's just
might have
finding
only
out
been
about
the
Harry
first
Potter
book.
right now. He's just
When did the
finding
first
out about
book
him
come
right
out?
Well, it
The
was
first
all,
book came out, I believe, in like '97. I think.
So
Yeah.
it might have been just the first
It
book
was.
that display.
It was. I do recall that because since I've seen the movie, it was all about that one display. So it was very, very early on. So yeah, that's pretty much my encounters with Harry Potter.
Do either of your children read them or have ever been into it at all?
Well, I had hoped Sam would have been because he was, on the journey with me. But he read through book 4 or 5 and he gave up.
Hmm.
And Paul wasn't one he had ever picked up,
All right then.
which
For us, go ahead. I thought
Bummer.
you were-
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that for us, it's pretty big in our family too because I haven't read any of the books, but my wife has, and she read it at the same time as our son was reading because he was like really advanced in reading at a young age, and so it's like kind of hard for us to find like what's an age appropriate book that's still challenging enough for him, and Harry Potter. That whole series just kind of fit that mold. And so he really got into it. And she was reading basically right along with them at the same time, the same books and everything. And my daughter's getting into it now and all of that kind of thing. And it was big during the pandemic. That was when we sat down and watched all of the movies in succession because we had watched Harry Potter. We had watched all of the Star Wars movies in succession. And then as many of the Avengers movies as we could, which was like 25, and there's still more that we didn't get to, but they're just
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, they totally. The first few are fun and good and everything, and then it just gets really old.
Yeah, so many. My
When you get to
God.
the last. I mean, some of them are better than others, but anyway. So yeah, that's when Brecken had finished his all of the books. That's when we decided to go for Christmas, and like we said earlier, we did just have a great time down at Universal. To the whole Harry Potter thing. Oh, and by the way, I've won a Halloween costume contest dressed up as Dumbledore, so that's a big deal, right?
Oh yeah, I was
Yes,
gonna
uh,
mention that no one
half
in my
the-
house has ever dressed as a Harry Potter.
Well,
character.
I mean, we had a graduation gown from a neighbor that we had borrowed, and it was red, and then it was like a big long Santa Claus beard, and half the people, because it was a Harry Potter themed thing that we had going on, it was one of those tailgate trick or treat, trunk or treat deals, and so that was our thing. It was obviously Harry Potter, but half the people still thought that I was an Egyptian Santa Claus, is what they thought I was. But
That's
but
what
I still
think you are
won.
right now.
That's right. That's right. I could be. I do feel like it. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun with Harry Potter. Been very enjoyable. Been a big deal in our family.
So we did have I won, and my daughter, your wife had you had us over, and we did these
Oh,
Harry Potter
yeah, I
like
should have
theme
mentioned that.
games day and stuff, and we dressed up a little bit, and I won the adults version of Quidditch, and my daughter won the children's category
Yes.
of Quidditch. So
My
It's a
wife
jock
is
family.
very
we took home
artsy,
both the
craftsy,
trophies
and
from your own home there.
And she
Nerd alert.
she built all the like out
Jenny,
of
no
beer
way.
bottles. It's like yeah. But she built like these beer bottles, painted gold, and then these sticks sticking up in big hoops that you had to throw. She made these ping pong balls looked like little snitches. And so then you had to throw the ball through the hoops, and then you get points and whatever. And there was a bunch of other games that she made, and
And of course,
treats.
treats.
And the what's the beer?
Oh
I
yeah,
can't think of what's the name of the beer?
Butterbeer.
Butterbeer. Yes, she found the recipe for that, and that's what we had. There's an adults version and a kids version. So that was a big deal. And of course, when you go down there, you got to have the butterbeer. By the way, my favorite ride is the motorcycle ride, the Hagrid's motorcycle ride.
I think
that's
that's the new one that opened after we went, in between when we went and when you went. We haven't actually been on that.
Oh, it's comparable to the Disney Magic Kingdom, the Rocky Mountain Railroad or whatever that is.
I love that one too.
It's sort of comparable to that, only you're on a motorcycle. So a lot of fun. I recommend you go back.
Speaking of butterbeer, we went to Harry Potter World in August, and it was just sickeningly hot every day. And it's not just the butterbeer. The frozen butterbeer is one of the greatest things ever. And I must have had maybe about 15 frozen butterbeers that day.
Oh, it's the shit.
Good story, Forrest.
Could not stop drinking those things. They were just amazing.
What's wrong with Daddy?
All right, so I got into Harry Potter a little later than the rest of the family. My wife and my son were both huge into it. And I can't remember exactly, but I think they kind of read them together. I think she started reading them first, but I don't think she was like huge fan right away. I mean, she liked them and she read them. But then my son got into it. It was something he could read, and he usually needed to read things with audio, and so they would have audio playing and I could listen to it, and it was fun just to hear it in the background. And she was playing it all the time, all over the house, and she's probably read the books like 4 times, and I think he has too. So eventually I finally broke down and said, okay, I guess I got to read these things. And it was right around, I think probably like 2015 or something, I decided to start reading them. And then we started planning that trip, and I knew I needed to get them done by the time we went. And I remember reading it on a trip we took the year before, and I know I finished them before, but I read them all through and it was great. And then we've watched the movies at least once maybe twice altogether. And I've seen a few of them more than that. But I did love it. And what surprised me is that this is the reason why I didn't want to read this stuff at first is because it's fantasy stuff, and some of the names were weird, and I can't stand that crap. Like,
I get confused by fantasy stuff easily.
I do not read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I cannot stand that kind of stuff, and anything that's not big name like that, but just those weird character names drives me crazy. So I was hesitant to read this. But it didn't take long. Like the first book right away, I'm like, okay, I get who these people are, and their names aren't too weird. I mean, you have Ron and Harry.
I mean, Harry and Ron.
It was more like hearing Hermione's name and, I don't know, Dumbledore, but I didn't hear a lot of the names. I just heard enough to know it's one of those books.
They get weirder and weirder. It starts out with normal names like Harry and Ron, and then Hermione's a little weirder, and then Dumbledore.
So anyway, I was hesitant, but it turned out I loved it, and I did in fact start to read them all again. And I got through the 5th book. Or did I get through the 6th? I was either in the 6th or got to it, and I just decided I was just done reading them at that point. Like I wanted to read some other books, but I did read I just never read the last one again. But I'd read it before, so it's like, okay, whatever. I am not an expert. I'm not going to be able to sit here and tell you Harry Potter trivia and facts like some of the people would be able to do, but I know it well enough, and I loved it, and it surprised me that I loved it, and I love that we all shared it together as a family. So that's where this all really comes from. So our next topic is, what are your favorite books or movies? If you had, like Pete hasn't read any of the books, what are your favorite editions?
Neither is Gifford. What the hell?
Well, I know that, but I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Courtney, because she's like taking his place.
Got it. Okay. Oh. Okay.
Anyway, what are your favorite books, movies, or just moments, things, parts of the series that you like? Pete, go first.
My favorite movie would be Goblet of Fire, which I think is the 4th one. Is that right?
It is the 4th one, yes.
I enjoy it. I don't know why. I just enjoy the whole concept of, you had the Tri-Wizard tournament, and it was just kind of a fun little addition because it was like a kind of like an Olympic style competition, which was fun to watch that they threw that in there. It also had, because like before, I mean, Harry Potter is so big, it really covers all like themes, but then this one had a little bit of a Christmas theme to it too, right? I think this is the one with the Christmas ball. And so that was kind of fun. But yeah, then at the end, when Voldemort comes back, that whole little exchange there, It was just fun, and I thought the most entertaining from start to finish was that one.
All right, Courtney.
Was there 7 movies or 8?
Well, there's
There
8
was
movies.
8,
7,
but
because
the last two,
book-
yeah, the last 2 are the same book that they had to split into 2 movies.
I always like the very last one because everything comes together. I love watching that end scene where they need everybody to win, not just Harry. But my favorite book was The Half-Blood Prince.
And why is
That's
that?
number 6.
And why would that be?
I don't remember why. No, I'm just kidding. Because that one brought in what was his name? The nerd. Neville. Right?
Oh, yeah, Neville.
Longbottom. I thought that was cool how he was part of the story when you kind of blew him off the first
Yeah,
few books. I liked that one.
How he became more and more important.
Yeah.
Right. I just thought the whole thing was cool. How the storyline kind of grew along with the characters, because they started off as kids. And the first movie was sort of a lighthearted, fun movie. But the movies just get darker and darker and darker as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of cool. Like, even if you watch movies, if you're paying attention, that initial, like, the Warner Brothers screen actually is darker with each one, which is kind of a cool little feature.
And I think you might like the Goblet of Fire, Pete, because that's kind of where it starts to turn that direction. So the books get way longer with that one, for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you got the whole stuff with Cedric Diggory at the end, and you said Voldemort coming back. That's kind of the turning point where it does kind of go more from childrenish to adultish more. So
yeah,
a little more mature.
That's right. Yeah, I like mature. You know.
My favorite book by far is The Order of the Phoenix, for lots of reasons. So The Order of the Phoenix is the 5th one. And that is the one, it has Dolores Umbridge in it, who comes in and takes over the place. And
I hated her.
Maybe the greatest, well, not the greatest, worst bitch villain ever in literature, to me. The reason why I love that book, because it makes me feel stuff. It makes me angry because I can relate to it so well. So it's a lot of it's.
Do we need to talk about the worst bitch villains in your life, Brad?
Okay, well, I'm not going to name anybody, but it's set in an education setting.
Oh, sure.
She takes over the school.
Gets close to home.
She ruins the school, and she's ruining their lives. And so here's the deal. When I was reading that book, that was the same year that my school district, which has been through a lot of issues with the upper administration and settling our contract, we were going through probably the worst one ever. And we had, at that time, we've had a lot of pretty sketchy leaders, but it was bad. And Dolores Umbridge reminded me so much of our quote unquote interim superintendent, who wasn't really interim, I don't think. And we were going through it, like we were picketing, we were fighting, we were arguing, and they just had no time for teachers, and they were ruining things. And so the fact that I read that book at the same time and then could relate to it so well because of my job just made it even better. That's what I mean by feeling things. Like I understood what was going on there and the anger that these characters were going through and how unfair it was and how just ridiculous it was. So that was my favorite one. And I hate her, but she's like the best villain. I mean, she's just awful.
She really acted the role well too. I think the actress, I don't know her name or anything, but I thought that she was perfect for that role. She really
yeah, she's good.
She really
and because she acts, so proper and sweet, and she's got that little laugh. But deep down, she's just a cold-hearted snake.
That's how they get you.
Look into my eyes.
I don't know if you guys have a second favorite. My second favorite is the original book, The Sorcerer's Stone, because I just love how it sets up the whole thing and the dynamic between Ron and Harry and Hermione, and then the end part where they have to get through those levels. I love meeting the characters and getting into the world and Hogwarts and everything. And I just think it sets it up so great. And so if I had to pick a second favorite, I do think that's mine. And I love the movie too. It's fun to watch.
I had to pick a second favorite, I'd be with Courtney on the last one. I think where it got really, it just sort of brought the whole thing together really well. That would be my second favorite.
Do you have a second favorite, Courtney?
No.
Okay.
No. All the others are the same.
Well, we named about 4 different ones there and got a little detail.
That was pretty good.
So
I like the first one because that's the one I've seen.
yeah, see, well, and I threw that one out there, Giff. You could head on to it.
I'll say the chess scene is really cool.
Yeah, like that part, all those little things at the end.
That's
really
iconic in my opinion, and that was the
three-headed
line
dog.
where my daughter, like, there's a line in that chess scene where my daughter just memorized it, and she really worked on acting it out, and she can act it out really well. It's pretty fun.
Another part in one of those early movies that I like too is the time turning part. I can't remember now if that's in the second or the third one, but I like it in the movie part where you see like Ron, or it's Harry and Hermione, I think, but they're watching themselves.
It's a little Back to the Future
At a
feel
different,
to it.
yeah, and that really stands out. I just think that's really cool how they did all that, and you know, they're out there by Hagrid's place, and there's always interesting things happening out there. So
Yeah, I'm always like the book's always better. So I don't know if I've really watched all the middle movies. Just because the books were so detailed and they kind of starts to bug you. They miss parts and
yeah, and they are
take
great.
liberties. Obviously, to make a movie, it's different than the
I
book.
think the movies did do a pretty great job compared to some with how they interpreted the content.
It did what they could given the time they have.
Yeah.
Probably to hit all the details you're talking about, they'd have to make like 25 movies.
Right. That's
Like
why,
the MCU.
That's why the books are always
Yeah, and that's too many.
That is too many.
All right, we are going to continue on with Harry Potter with our last topic here, and it's going to be a draft. And I thought that Harry Potter is just filled with so many interesting and rich characters that come and go, or that you meet along the way. And so I was trying to think of a draft for this one, and we're going to draft our favorite Harry Potter characters. And you don't have to have a major reason for why you pick anybody, but it could also be like you don't even know who they are that much, but you did a little research and found, oh yeah, they're very important, so I picked them. That was more for Giff there.
Gotcha.
So,
Thank you.
So picking the Harry Potter characters, I'm going to pick first, followed by Gifford, and then Pete. And my first pick, you guys have already brought up, and so I think maybe I'm taking him from somebody else, but I picked Neville as my number one. I think he is just such a interesting character. He's funny, but he becomes so important, and he's that underdog that does something great at the end, and I just think he's great. So I always root for Neville, and he's my number one pick.
Nice
That's
pick,
a good
Brad.
pick.
Thanks.
Well,
That's a dark horse number one pick, number one
is.
overall pick. By the way.
Yeah, but I think it's the right one.
sneaky favorite.
Okay.
I think a lot of people would agree with
Sneaky
me.
favorite. That's right.
Well, Courtney and I are going to be picking together as a team, but as the least experienced person here, as my number one overall pick, I'm going to take a guy called Harry Potter. Is that right? Harry Potter?
You did it. Good
So I'm
job.
going to go along with him.
That was not a sneaky favorite.
No?
See, and I never go chalk, so I left him to you.
That's why you lose the polls, Brad.
Yes, also
I
that.
don't care.
Yeah, you do. a
Yeah,
little
you
bit.
do a little bit. You do.
Well, sometimes I do, because sometimes it's the voters are just wrong. But
Okay,
like a real
Trump.
Donald Trump.
Okay, Carrie Lake.
yes.
I am going to, in honor, as a shout out to our good friend Dave, whose favorite movie of all time was European Vacation, and the actor is the same. I am going with Hagrid.
You mean Hodor?
Rubeus Hagrid. Yes,
yes.
who starred in the movie, and obviously he plays a very important mentor role to the kids, and just sort of teaches them everything they need to know, sort of behind the scenes, and that they're not necessarily getting taught in the classrooms.
But he's also an underdog who gets mistreated by the upper administration, who don't always believe in what he's doing, and he has to always fight through that.
That's right. I think
and yes,
it's a great
Robbie Coltrane played him in the movies, and he was in European Vacation.
European Vacation.
Dave's
Yes.
favorite movie of all time.
The
Of
first,
all
the first
time.
hotel, right, that they stay
Yep.
in.
He
Greatest
walks
movie
in
ever.
on, or is he in the tub?
No, she's in the tub.
Yeah, and he walks in on her.
Yeah.
All right, with my next pick, I am going to go a little more obvious here, and she might be a little bit polarizing, but I
Oh,
love
she-
Hermione.
That's a
I think
good pick.
Hermione is smart, and she's kind of the glue that keeps everything together. And yeah, maybe there's a time or two where she gets a little annoying and maybe a little too opinionated, but overall, those are good qualities that serve her well.
Girl power.
Yes,
Yes,
I'm running away with this right now. So
She is the brains behind the whole operation.
yes,
I mean, Harry actually has the magical talent better than anybody, but she's the smart one.
yes, right.
Well, I am going to go with Professor Snape here.
Oh.
R.I.P. Alan Rickman.
Yeah,
Love him. And that is really why I'm making that pick.
Well, and what better person could play that role than Alan Rickman?
Mhm.
That is
Right. Put him in any
Oh,
role. You're good to
That's
go.
but that's the absolute perfect role for him. I mean,
well,
my
maybe
God.
that and Hans.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, he's the perfect actor for that particular role of Snape. I
And
can't
Snape's
I
one of
can't
those
picture
guys
anybody
too.
else.
He's the villain, but all along you know there's more to it, and he's fun to learn about, and
Yep.
his whole backstory and the way he treats Harry, but the way it's all it's all wonderful, and he's a great pick, Giff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pete,
Because I won a free meal at Rock Elm Brewery, Maple Grove, Minnesota, which I'm giving them a plug. However, they no longer exist. But I won that gift certificate in
Too
the
little, too
costume
late.
contest as Albus Dumbledore. I'm going to go with Dumbledore.
yes, good pick.
Particularly the original actor. I like the first actor better, but they were both good. But I thought the first one was better.
And he was in only what, 2 movies or 3, or did he go longer?
I want to say 3, but I could
Okay.
be wrong.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, you barely notice because
You don't notice, yeah. They did a good
Yeah.
job.
I can see that.
What? He died.
Yeah, he died.
The actor
The role
passed
killed
Yeah,
away.
him.
the actual actor
Yes.
died.
Yeah, I forget their names. All right, I'm gonna go. My number 3 overall pick here is gonna be my third choice, and this is another woman with a lot of great power, and that is Minerva McGonagall.
Ooh, good one.
She is a wonderful teacher. She has a great heart. She's a little strict. She's just like me. She's a little strict, but she wants the best for her kids, and she'll get it out of them.
Excellent. I'm going to go with our third pick. I'm taking Ron.
Good old
Mr.
Ron.
Weasley.
Gifford's going to win the whole draft because he's got Harry and Ron. That's like,
I don't think so. It's too obvious.
Obvi.
yeah. But,
And I have Ron on my list, but much lower. I find Ron to be quite annoying at times.
Didn't he marry Hermione?
Yes.
Yeah,
did,
He
yeah.
goes
that'd
up
be
and
annoying.
down.
I mean,
There's
spoiler
times where
alert.
he's great at times.
He's pretty funny at times. Yeah.
Yeah, but he also, I think it's more in the movies where it's just he gets to be so whiny, or I don't remember what it was, but he kind of rubs me the wrong way a few times. But
Did you guys mention that one in your bromance episode, Harry and
No.
Ron?
no, we didn't.
That was TV bromance.
Oh, okay. So sorry.
That's right.
I
Pete?
would be remiss if I overlooked this one. My daughter's all-time favorite character, who at the time at least doesn't talk about her very much anymore, but just like anytime when we went to Universal, anything that had this character's name on it or whatever, she would point her out, make a big deal out of it. Luna Lovegood.
Oh, she was my next one on my list, Pete.
The porn actress.
Oh my God.
Gifford.
There's your edit.
I had Luna next too. She is a great character.
That is a good porn name. I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
We got a
And
couple
she's
more.
another one of those. It's a little bit, mysterious at first, but there's always more to these people. All right, let's see. So we're getting lower on the list here now. Do I
Going
go
else
with my
up to
next
us?
one?
Oh, Brad's up. Okay. I think he'll pick one of ours.
Mhm.
All right, I'm gonna pick another one who definitely got a. No, I'm not gonna pick him. I like Mad Eye Moody. I'm gonna pick Mad Eye Moody.
Oh, I like him
Last one I
too.
left off.
He seems like he'd be a bad guy and but he's a good guy, and he's there's nothing wrong with him. He's a good, solid choice.
Go ahead.
We're gonna go with a long shot with Dobby.
Aha! I had Dobby the last one on
Potter.
my list.
Wow,
I
that
find
was
him
good.
pretty annoying too, but he does
He is
come
annoying.
around.
He
Yeah,
does.
He comes around though, so
And when he
does.
pops up, it's fun. Like you're like, why is Dobby there?
yep, he's
There's
a
Dobby.
memorable character.
I'm going to go a little more. I'm going to go to the dark side. Another one who just played the character just perfectly. Maybe not as good as Snape, but I'm going with Lucius Malfoy.
Oh, really? You're going for the bad guys?
So that's
That's what I
Draco's
just said.
dad.
That's what I said.
Yes.
I'm going to the dark side.
I do not like Lucius Malfoy.
Well, as a character,
No, I know.
I mean, you're supposed to hate him, but as a
Yeah.
character,
Which one are you?
All right. Let's see here. I've between two different people. I'm not sure who to pick. I am going to pick Cedric Diggory. Cedric
okay.
Diggory's time was short, but important and impactful.
Sealed your deal
And he was
on
played
winning
by
the
Robert
poll.
Pattinson, which all the females in my home loved. Well, actually, probably everybody in my house,
Fair enough.
not just the females.
All right.
All right.
Brian's gonna let me pick the last two picks, right?
No, we got one
We
left.
got one left.
Right, but I mean, I picked Dobby.
Yes.
Sirius Black.
That was the other one I was going back and
He's
forth.
so
on.
important to Harry. It's cool. Like he's his mentor, right? He's the one
Yeah.
at the beginning. Yeah.
Second porn star on our list that we wrote down
Prisoner
after
of
Luna lived.
Azkaban.
Are you
I
gonna
almost
recover?
picked him 3 picks ago, Pete. I kept laying him out there for you if you wanted him.
I know. God, that was my pick, though. That was my pick.
He got so upset he left
did.
his chair.
Yeah,
He
he
did
got
a-
up
he
and
did a-
left.
Marnie
because I
Gellner right
threw-
here.
I threw my pencil. That's why I bounced it off the table, and I had to go
All right,
get
Pete.
it.
Wow.
Who's your last pick?
Ginny Weasley.
He doesn't
knew it.
seem too happy about that one.
You got to pick that.
Well,
It's too close to your
compared
wife's
to-
name.
I couldn't go with. I mean, Ginny eventually gets it on with Harry.
Oh boy.
So that's the thing. And I couldn't go with Draco Malfoy because I just picked Lucius, and I didn't want to
that's
go
too
too
much.
evil. That's too many Malfoys. But
So you couldn't pick Voldemort
that's
then,
my
because
pick.
that'd be pretty evil.
that would have
way,
been
too.
really dark. Although that's not a bad pick at all. I should have
Right.
picked Voldemort. I'm
No,
going
that's
with
terrible.
Ginny Weasley.
My others on my board here were Fred and George, but I didn't know like if we could pick them together or
Oh, yeah.
I would have
So-
picked them together. I
I
had
would
that
have-
on my list.
and I
as
would have
one
allowed
person.
that, but
Yep,
I had Fred and
that's
George
allowed.
could have been my next picks. I like Lupin.
rolled 25.
Lupin's a really good character. Sybil Trelawney, played by Emma Thompson, she's kind of just interesting and different. And I didn't pick Ginny Weasley, but I like Molly Weasley. I like the mom. I think she's pretty cool.
Yeah, you do.
Oh.
And then I had an honorable mention. I didn't want to pick any characters I hated like you did, Pete, but I think the Dursleys, I almost picked any of them because they're terrible people, but they're funny and you like to see them constantly get beaten down and lose. So Dudley and the parents, like,
Oh, yeah.
I like watching them because you know something bad's going to happen because they're just ridiculous.
Mhm.
And then my dishonorable mention is Dolores Umbridge because screw her.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a character, though, fantastic character.
Yeah, that's why I
It's
threw
good
her
what
on
they're
there.
supposed to do.
That's
Well-
why I threw her on there. I gave her the dishonorable mention.
Our list
right.
had everything. Everybody picked from our list except Voldemort. Brian was itching for that one, and I didn't want to pick that one. Draco, and then Brian had the sorting hat.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Giff.
Oh,
interesting.
that's
Giff
a
had the
good
sorting
pick.
hat.
That actually is a really interesting idea that I hadn't even considered.
I like hats.
Really?
And you could have got. I mean, and there's so many characters. There's all the ghosts. There's
Yep.
Nearly Headless Nick, and but then you think
Oh,
of the
yeah.
Sorting Hat, and you think of all these other creatures and things. You could really go deep on that. Pete, did you have anybody else that we didn't pick or
No,
mention?
my good ones were pretty much taken. I had a few others listed, but no, I'm good.
All right. Well, now we're going to transition to the theme park discussion and the vacation part of our night here. And so I'm going to head back to the theme parks there. So if you go to Universal, we'll just start with that one. There's 3 parks. So the original Universal, which I was at way back in 1991, and that was really fun. But it's a lot of new stuff since then, obviously. So we went in 2012, and that's when I first went on the Simpsons ride, which was like the highlight of that time there. And then we went again, but now they've added the other park, which has like the more of it's. I mean, it was what's it called? Islands of Adventure, but it has Jurassic Park and it has King Kong and it even had some Marvel stuff, even though Disney by the time we went there had bought them. But I know Spider-Man and the Hulk are kind of weird, so they still had those rides.
They still gave them permission. Yes.
Yeah. So that one, I don't like that park as much, but it does. That's the side that has the original Hogsmeade Harry Potter part, which is so cool when you walk through the first time, and that's where the Hogwarts Castle is. But then they added the other part, which you can get to back and forth with a train. So you got to get the park hopper if you're going to go there. And then they have Volcano Bay, which is the giant water park, which is the coolest water park I've ever been to. And that was kind of the highlight of Isla's time there. My daughter, she loved Volcano Bay. But unfortunately, every day there was like a storm in the middle of the day and it lightninged and rained. And like halfway through the day, we got basically sent out of there. So that was too bad. So she was a little sad with that. But we had a great time. The roller coasters, the other favorite rides that I had at Universal, we went on the Jimmy Fallon, the late show ride like 8 times.
Yeah.
That ride was just so fun. And the Simpsons ride. Those are both those kind where you're watching the giant screen, but it feels like you're totally moving. The biggest roller coasters are fun too. The Hulk one's fun, and I also love the Rockin' roller coaster that goes straight up and then straight down, and you pick the song you're going to listen to. And I listen to "Kickstart My Heart" by a Motley Crue
cool.
as you go through it. So when we were on that trip, Isla was like posing for all these pictures, which was different. She had never done that before. So the kids were just totally into it, and we had such a great time. So that is such a great theme park, but there's others we'll mention too. So before I mention anything else, I'll just throw it out to you guys. What other theme parks have you been to? What's your favorite? What's memorable?
Don't forget to mention, by the way, you got to go back because have they opened it yet? But now they're going to have a Nintendo
Yes.
World.
No, that's not open yet. Actually, they're opening that in the Hollywood one first. Isaac was just showing me TikToks of that the other night. So if you want to go to that one, you got to go to California, and then I think the Florida one is opening like in 2 years.
And it's going to be a bigger footprint. The land that they bought is bigger than it's like way bigger than what they already have. So
really,
it's going to be gigantic, is what I was told. So when we went to
will
Universal, at the end of the day, when we were walking out, they pulled us aside, and then they brought Jenny in for a survey. It's like a focus group kind of survey about how the day was and how the park was. And so I was just talking to one of their marketing guys, and that's what he had told me, was that everything's going to be way better. The one knock, and I had fun. We all had fun at Universal. The one kind of downside is that it just seemed like many of the rides were almost the same. Like all of the projection, like so many of them were just a projection thing, and you're in a seat that's moving around. And Jenny was getting very motion sick. She gets motion sickness, and so
does Kim. But she even liked a lot of them, though. She liked the Simpsons ride, even though it was a lot for her.
Yeah. And I even, when I was talking to a marketing guy that worked there, he said the Transformers ride and the Spider-Man ride, it's the exact same template. Like every single bump and the whole ride is exactly the same. It's just you're watching a different movie. So all they did was rebuild the same thing.
Suckers.
Yeah, exactly. I like Disney World a little better, just because it has more variety. Now, one story I want to tell is when we're at Epcot. What's the section of the Epcot park where you're going through all the different countries?
It's the well, what's the name of it? But it's
Well, you know what I mean.
the
You go through all
Festival
the
of Nations.
Festival of Nations, whatever it is. So we went around that whole loop. Of course, you're drinking. I had probably 7 or 8 beers the whole time. We get to our last one at the very end of the day, and I found this out about myself is that, and by the way, it's the United Kingdom is what it is. And so, like, apparently, when I talk to people that have a British accent, I automatically go into British accent mode myself.
We need to get somebody
Is
with
what
a
I
British
find.
accent
And the guy,
on this podcast.
I do that with
the
Canadians.
guy, yes. And so the guy, we go into one of the stores, and there was this guy. He was a kid, maybe 20 years old, that was working there, and they always get like authentic national people that work at these places. And he's like, "Would you like to try a bit of Disney trivia?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure, I'll go for it." And he goes, "What magical boy comes from London?" And I immediately, all the confidence in the world, I immediately, in the British accent, I go, "Harry Potter?" And then he's just like shook his head. That's not Disney. The right answer was Peter Pan.
Peter
but I
Pan.
just felt like
I wasn't
felt
even
like
thinking
such
about it. I would have said Harry Potter too.
I felt like such an asshole because I
Rightfully
was
so.
like,
Wrong theme
Harry
park, yeah.
Potter.
Should have said Harry Potter, isn't it?
And it was like a big, like the
Potter.
big look of disappointment on his face because that's like a competitor. It's
Right.
like he probably gets sick of hearing that answer. But yeah, I think we had our best time. Yeah, not necessarily at Epcot itself. Um, I was expecting more out of Epcot, although they do have a few cool things, but probably either Magic Kingdom or the Hollywood Land, which we didn't go to the Hollywood one this last time we went out there. We got to go back.
Oh yeah, you got to go to that one. That's where
Got
they
to
have
go to
Star
that one. But
Wars.
we went to, yeah, I know, but we
and
went
now
to
Toy Story too.
when we went there. I think it was before Star Wars opened, and so we focused on Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, and Epcot. That was our 3-day deal.
So we went there in 2012 when the kids were really young, and we went to Animal Kingdom that time, but we did not go to Epcot. But then we went back just 2 years ago because of Star Wars. And so we watched all the Star Wars movies, just like Harry Potter.
Mhm.
And we went to the Magic Kingdom, and we went to Epcot, and we went to, what is it called now? It's not MGM Studio, Hollywood
Yeah.
Studios.
I think it's
Jesus.
Hollywood Studios
Hollywood
because
Studios.
it's not owned by MGM anymore. MGM
But
is not a part of it.
The Star Wars area is, I mean, it's amazing. It's the Harry Potter stuff is great. The Star Wars stuff rivals it. If you like Star Wars, it's just amazing. The rides are great. Walking through there, it's like a whole nother world. That was totally worth it. But taking the kids a little older this time to Epcot, we actually loved Epcot. We had a great time there. And they had opened a new Ratatouille ride in like the France area. And so if you haven't been, that's fun. These are, so they've kind of changed the rides now from the big screen and the moving. I mean, they still have all those, but now there's these rides where you like get in a car and it moves you all over just inside this, and there's screens and there's other stuff, and you're just spinning around everywhere. And those are so fun. And that's what the Ratatouille one is like.
Did Kim get
so
sick on that?
no, it actually a
That's
little
better?
bit less than the big ones. You move around. I mean, you're not totally spinning, but like it just kind of moves you around fast when you need to,
Mhm.
and you see so much.
It's like Jenny. She'll do okay on roller coasters and stuff like that, but it's
Weird.
when the movie projection is what
Yep.
gets you. When
Hmm. She'd like this
projection doesn't
Ratatouille
line
thing.
up exactly with how your movement is.
Yep.
That's how you get motion sick.
So the Florida Disney is great, and it's the Star Wars stuff now is just amazing. So it's even better. Before I get into another one, Courtney, what say you? Where have you been?
What say you?
I just had this conversation with Brian last night. Glad he wasn't my dad because we got to go to do all this stuff. Brian's kind of a grump
Yeah.
about theme
good.
parks.
He is.
So when I was
Wow.
6 years old, we drove as a family to Florida, and we went to. So all there was Disney World. when I was 6, so that was 1982. And then when I was 10, my mom
Wally
and I,
World, Dad.
yeah, oh yeah.
Wally World, son.
When I was 10, my mom and I flew out to California, just the two of us. That was my first time on a plane, and we went to everything: Disneyland, SeaWorld, Knott's Berry Farms, Universal. So that was like 86, and then we drove. My mom rented a car and drove in LA, which just fascinates me to this day. And let me navigate as 10 years old. And I got we
Before GPS.
drove down to San Diego. My cousin lived there, and it was right where when Top Gun was being released, and it was filmed right there. So I got to see where Top Gun was filmed, and then I got seagull pooped on me at SeaWorld. So that was a highlight.
Oh, nice.
That is
Highlight.
funny because when we went to Disney in California in 2014, I got shit on by a bird as well. And I had to take my shirt off and buy a Darth Vader shirt and change my shirt in the middle of the day.
Nice.
Mine pooped into my SeaWorld collector mug.
Oh, gross. Mine was right on my left shoulder here, and I
Mm.
couldn't believe it.
Mhm.
And oh boy, everybody thought that was funny.
I would have.
I think it's funny right now.
I would pay money to see a video of your reaction when that happened.
Yeah.
Jesus! That's what
Why
I was-
me?
Nice.
And the,
Just
the
like
little
Ross,
tisk.
like a Ross. Why me?
So that was on our big road trip we took as a family,
Yeah.
but the Disney part was just so much fun. So that time we went because the first time I went to Disney was with you, Pete.
Yeah.
But this time they have the California Adventure Park open too. And so that park was great. We did everything there. That's where they had the Tower of Terror. They had the Cars Land and
Oh,
stuff
I
like
love the
that.
Tower of Terror.
There you got a ride where Jenny got really sick on because
Really?
they've got one that
My
looks
mom did
innocent
too.
enough at a California land. It's all it is, a big Ferris wheel, right? But it's on
Oh.
rollers, and so it's like the cars rock back and forth,
No, this
big
is different.
time. And so it adds.
We didn't do
They're
that
on
one.
rollers, and they're on these basically they're on bars and rollers, and the rocking on it. I was fine, and we went there with my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law. We're the four of us were on it, and myself and Jenny's sister. We were fine, but the other two, that was not a good time for them.
So then when I was 20, we went back as a family. My brother's 8 years older than me. So my mom and dad and my brother and his wife at the time went, and we rented a house. And we read up about, back then it was 1997. So you read what to do. And the first ride to go on was Tower of Terror. So this was the Florida one, and it must have just opened, and we had a blast.
Yeah, I
Like,
love that one.
That one, like where you don't know how high you are and the doors open and it shows you how high you are and then they close and they drop you. So that was fun. And then my other favorite thing when we went on that trip, well, I have two stories. I have one about my brother. But Muppet Theater, I don't remember which park that was in.
I
Did
love
you guys,
that.
That's
Oh.
in Magic Kingdom.
you
That's
could
in
just
Magic
sit
Kingdom,
in the
yeah.
Muppet Theater.
Or was it in Hollywood Studios? What? It doesn't
I
matter.
think it was in
I-
MGM. I think it
Yeah.
was back then. It was called MGM.
Yeah, when I went there the first time, it was MGM.
But I loved the Muppet Theater. And then when I was in college, again, I went back. I was an intern in this program, and they flew us down to Florida for this conference. And we got to go to Pleasure Island, and I was 21, and like go to the dance clubs. Did anyone ever do that?
No,
No,
I don't know what that
Go-
is. No.
go on.
They had a BET soundstage. I was in this.
Is Luna Lovegood part of Pleasure Island?
Or Sirius Black.
I swear that's what it was called back then. I mean, in the 90s, anything could go, right? But we went to SeaWorld with my brother, and he is such a goofball. These two, I'm not kidding you, Japanese tourists hand him their camera to take a picture of them, and he took off running with their camera
Like as a
Oh, my
as a
God.
joke. And they just
Not a
stood there and they kept smiling, and I was dying laughing. It was the funniest thing. Okay, sorry. That was the sucked carrot story. Also happened in Florida.
yes,
so.
the sucked carrots. Yes.
But I think that the day we did California Adventure and then Disneyland in California, outside of the bird pooping on me, that might have been my favorite day ever as a family on vacation. We hit every ride. We did everything perfectly, and we stayed there from open till close. It was just and the kids were they were 8 and 6, and they were just totally game for everything we did, and it was just such a lovely day.
Yeah, well, we called it Orlando when we were down there.
I
We
get
just
that.
stood in line.
Yeah. Well, we're really
Yep.
good about, we read those books ahead of time and we make a plan, and we really haven't had issues with lines usually when we go there.
Brad with us.
We should.
Except for
Oh yeah, you should.
when we went to Disney this last time, the big Ride of the Resistance, which is the big one in Star Wars area. We were in that line for 2.5 hours because there's
Oh
just
my God.
there's no other way around it. And it is probably the greatest ride like ever.
You can't just skip it.
No. So that one we had to, bite the bullet and sit in line for that one, but it was worth it. My first exposure to these places, like I said, Pete, we went there when we were 13 years old. Your family took me out there, and we've mentioned it on this podcast before, but
You got the mouse ears.
Disney in California, and we did Universal. Got on the Jaws ride and saw the Psycho House and all that.
I love that. I love the Universal tram ride. I love that whole thing.
My invitation must have got lost in the mail on that one.
We did know you at the time. Yes,
Yeah.
It was right after we would have known you.
Right.
It was 7th grade. Yep, that would have been awesome if you were
Well,
there.
I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the theme park that I've been to, and that's Jellystone in Warrens.
Oh, I knew you'd bring that one up.
And I did dress up as Yogi Bear along with a couple of my other cousins would be Cindy and Boo Boo, and we would cruise around the park and put smiles on kids' faces. But that's my biggest experience with a
That
theme.
reminds me of the Brady Bunch when
creepy.
they went to the big theme park in Cincinnati, and Greg borrowed the guy's bear costume so he could try to hit on a girl.
Yeah,
That sounds like you.
Is
that's
that what
me.
You did?
Yeah.
You. All right. How did it work for you?
Not well. Those costumes are extremely hot. This is summer in Wisconsin, so you put on this vest and then put blocks of like dry ice or whatever in them to try to keep you cool while you put this bear costume on. And
Dry
it
ice
smells.
down your pants.
Yes, and it smells spectacular inside of those costumes. By the way, they are regularly laundered, to be sure.
Well, we need to mention the OG for all of us, Valley Fair, the Minnesota theme park,
Yes.
which is still fun to go to anytime.
I
You can get
still
out there.
love going there. That's the one thing I miss about my former employer is that they had their own day every year where they rented out the park. It was just before the season opener, or it's like on the Sundays earlier in the year where the park is closed. They had the whole park to themselves, and I would get to go every single year, take the kids, very discounted tickets, and just enjoy the park.
I really enjoyed because we used to live very near it, and my kids were at the age that was perfect where we bought the season passes, and I would buy one too, because actually for 2 years, like it would be the three of us, and they would go hang out with me, and we would ride rides together. Like they weren't with their friends, it was us, and we'd go to the water park, and that was just such a wonderful time as well. But then we moved a little farther away, and we don't go there together anymore anyway because they're too old for me.
Sure.
I'm going to throw out 3 others quick if you've been anywhere else. So Dollywood I've been to twice in the
Really?
Smoky Mountains because my sister-in-law lives right near there.
I've been there.
And it's fun.
2 big attractions there.
Too big. It's a big roller coaster. It's got 2 hills.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
When we went to Florida as a family,
I love it when Brad
when I
laughs
was
like
a
that.
youngster, I was in high school, my brother and sister were in college, but it was like our first big family trip really that we all went on. We went to Disney and Universal, but we also took a trip to Tampa one day and went to Busch Gardens. And I can still remember some of the rides there and picture that place. That was a pretty good theme park at the time. I have no idea what it's like anymore. We also
We went there.
haven't been back to SeaWorld since, and I don't think I probably ever will.
Isn't that canceled?
Yeah, well, it has been now for a while.
Yeah.
But it's still there. People go.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think they've supposedly, fixed I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And then I wanted to throw out one more, which isn't really a theme park, but the Wisconsin Dells I thought would fit in and deserve a mention here.
Oh, yeah. it
Because
does.
An
people just,
amusement area.
Amusement area, correct.
I just listened to Gear Daddies in my car today.
Yep.
Load the
So-
dog and lock the door and
Yep.
run on Interstate 94.
Head
Any
down
other
there.
theme park stories or places that we haven't mentioned that you guys have been to?
Camp
Dude.
Snoopy at MOA when it
Well,
first
oh
opened.
yeah, good one. Nickelodeon Universe now. That is, I
Nickelodeon.
actually love that place too.
Mhm.
You mentioned Busch Gardens. We went there actually with my parents. It was myself and Jenny and my parents, and we're all down there. Actually, my brother and his wife were down there. We had gone to spring training for the Twins, and we saw a couple of games. And one of the things we did was we went to Busch Gardens. My dad, at the time, I want to guess he was between 60 and 65, and he went on some of the big roller coasters, including one where your like feet are dangling and everything like
Oh.
that. And
Never
so
been
that
on
was
one of
just
those.
kind of a cool memory.
Oh,
And
yeah,
he
they
did
love
well
it.
on them. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't think that he should be going on it, but he was like, yeah, I want to go on it.
Oh my!
Um,
Dollywood has a huge one called the Eagle or something, and my mother-in-law, who's 70s, she'll still go on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I actually have one more written down. I forgot. Legoland. We went to Legoland on that road trip as well, which was kind of a letdown. But our kids were
Really?
the perfect age where they had fun there. But
Mhm.
it's not somewhere we would ever be going back.
You go
It was a
back
good trip. It was a good stop there. I'm glad we did it,
Mhm.
but it wasn't nearly as fun as Disney was on that trip. That's for
Right.
sure.
All right.
All
What do
right.
we
Well,
got
we got a big surprise here. We're gonna do 2 drafts in this one. We're gonna close it out by drafting our favorite family vacation destinations. And so these can be theme parks or they don't have to be. But these are places that either you have been with your family, so that means we're adults now, so us with our own
We
children.
are.
Or places that you haven't been but would really love to go with your kids, with your family. So,
Okay,
we're
I
ready?
do.
I think
All
so.
right, well, I'm first again because tonight's the episode I picked. I had a hard time because I talked about how great Universal was, but I am going to go with Disney Florida, which includes Hollywood Studios, Epcot, Lego, or not Lego, Magic Kingdom, and Animal Kingdom. You can't go wrong
Okay.
with that. It's the original, and it really should be the first choice, I think. There's so much to do. Pete.
All right. Well, you took my pick. Here's okay. Well, then I'm going to go with Universal Orlando.
Yep. That would have been my
which
next
would be
one,
the next one.
which we've talked a lot about tonight.
Ad nauseum.
If you don't know why we picked it, you must have just turned it on.
They fast forwarded all the way to the end.
Giffords.
Well, we haven't gone on like big family trips with the kids all that often.
I mean, we go to Roseau every year. It's beautiful.
Yeah, War Road, Roseau,
border.
Baudette,
And Jellystone.
Yeah.
Not a lot of
Jellystone.
beaches.
I
Yeah.
don't go to Jellystone.
No, she doesn't. I go.
Oh.
So
right.
we're gonna talk about things
I
we'd
don't-
like.
yeah.
We'd like to go. I'm not a big crowd person, so theme parks for me, big cities aren't a big thing for me.
Neither am
so-
I, but come on.
I'm gonna throw out Yellowstone out there.
Nice.
Not Jellystone.
Right.
Nope.
Yellowstone.
Been to Jellystone many times with the kids. But yeah,
Yellowstone in Wyoming.
Mhm.
Old Faithful.
Yes.
And I've been out there with my family when I was growing up, and it was spectacular.
All right. Well, so now what do? Do I pick the same one on the other side of the country?
Yes.
I do because I'm going Disney California. There's 2 parks, and the California Adventure Park is fantastic as well. So I guess I'm taking all Disney's.
All right.
I should hand you the ears.
You should.
One thing, and Brad, this goes to your question about how specific do we want to be, but we are working on in the future, in the next probably couple of years, we're trying to work it so that we can do a European vacation. Another shout out to Dave. But the specifics of it, we're still kind of nailing it down. But you know, Europe.
Okay. So I didn't know if you were going to name a country or two.
I'm
so
not
you are
naming
just
one
taking Europe
because
off
you
the
can, you know, you'd fly there and do the
That's
train
fine.
and
Disney
Okay, you got
Paris.
Europe. You got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Isn't there a Disney World or Disney Paris or
Euro
something?
Disney.
Euro Disney. That's
Brad's
That's
third
one
pick.
thing that we're
Oh, sorry,
talking
Brad.
about going
Well,
to.
and
It's
no, there's a great Harry Potter world in London too. Like
Oh, I bet.
you can see all kinds of cool
Oh.
stuff over
Isn't
there.
all of London Harry Potter World?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso too.
Oh.
Giff.
So for my second pick, I will pick a city on this one. Courtney's been there. Sam's been there. Paul and I have not. I'm going with DC. I would like to see
we just
That is
went
on
to
my
that
list.
this year.
monuments,
Yeah,
You
it's
should
cool.
go.
the
It's a good trip.
history. That would be, high up there.
Yep. I
Yep.
think my time is probably past taking the kids there, but maybe we still will.
I don't think so. You should.
I don't
I
think
remember
for me it
I'll
hasn't.
allow you. I'll allow
I
you
just
to
don't
pick
think I'll
Euro
get the
Disney.
family to go there.
My parents took me when I was 16, and then
No,
I
I
went
think
for
it's actually a
choir
great time to go.
when I was 18, and
The
then
first time I went, I was
Yeah.
18.
Yep.
I'm going to go with one that is near and dear to all of us, the Black Hills.
ooh, that's good.
Oh,
Just-
that's
What
a
a
good one.
wonderful place
Just
to
for
go as
there.
a family and
It
spend
was.
a
We had a
week.
good time.
Yep.
Mhm.
Perfect drive, so
Mhm.
perfect driving distance, so you're not having to spend
Just
all
in
your time in
case
the
you
car.
are in the dark out there listening, that is in South Dakota. That is where Mount Rushmore is.
Yes, the
There's
west
so
side.
much
Yep.
to do in the Black Hills. It is
Mhm. Yep.
beautiful.
And we hit quite a bit of it.
We
just the end of last month.
Yeah, we were
About a
just
month
there
ago.
last month ago.
An underrated place that a lot of people probably aren't thinking of, but we did a couple of years ago. If you like a good beach vacation, try Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Greenbow, Alabama.
Right there in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's an easy, fairly easy 2-day drive. Well, we took a little longer because we did a few other things. We stopped at Memphis, saw the city of Memphis, which is cool. A lot of historical stuff there, and we also
We're not talking about
stayed-
road trips, Pete. We're talking about destinations.
I know, but I'm just saying. But we
He
also
ain't
went to
talking
New
about the
Orleans too.
destination, He's about the journey.
Yeah.
But anyway, there you go.
I've
I
heard
am
Gulf
about the
Shores.
journey.
A couple other friends have been there too, so that's a popular one.
It's close to there,
My
yeah.
parents go to Orange Beach.
Orange Beach.
Yeah.
Which is Alabama. Yeah.
Florabama.
Mhm.
What's your pick, Giff?
I'm going out to California. We're going to Yosemite.
Yeah,
Yosemite National
you're going
Park.
to the national parks.
I like I like wide open spaces.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Speaking of wide open spaces, my next pick is a family vacation we had 100% planned and paid for in 2020, and the whole thing went away, and now it'll never happen. But Alaska, and we were going to take a cruise as well as a train up to Fairbanks through the whole thing. We were going
That's
to go
currently what my folks are doing right now.
Yep. It was going to be the greatest trip ever, and didn't happen.
Why
So
can't you?
that's
Still could happen. Why can't it
Yeah, why
happen?
can't-
well. My wife and I will do it someday for sure, but I don't.
What about the vacation though?
And
Yeah.
our kids will be. So anyway, that's my fourth pick. Alaska.
All right. I'm going with another trip that we have on our docket in the next couple of years. Banff/Glacier.
Oh,
Oh, you
good
took Glacier.
choice.
That was my next one.
I
Glacier
put
would be
those
up
as
there, but
one
including-
because you would do those in the same trip, and so I put that as one.
Yeah.
thing.
Including
No.
Glacier is brilliant because they are. Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
It's basically Alaska but closer, and no cruise though.
All right.
All right, I'm sticking with the outdoor theme, the West theme. I'm going Grand Canyon.
They stopped there on vacation, right? The movie.
Yeah, they
Yeah, shortly. Not without
After-
a major credit
after he
card.
rips off the
Oh, speaking of
place.
that guy, Pete, and we talked about, have we seen him before? I was
Right.
watching an episode of Newhart tonight just before we started. That guy was on it, the hotel desk clerk.
really.
Oh, really?
He was on. I'm like, I know that guy, and it took me a second to look him up, but that was he was on there.
Okay.
All right, let's see. I can go. Oh, I only got one pick left. As far as a family vacation, I'm going to go with a place we've actually been because it was great and we've been to part of it together, but there's so many places you can go. Utah. And that would include
We've
Arches
done that.
National Park, Zion, which we've been to both of
I
those.
want to do that too.
Canyonlands. What's the other one? There's another one in there. Monument Valley.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it is just a place to just go hang out and hike and just see. I just love that area. And
What was Devil's Tower? That's Wyoming.
That's Wyoming.
that's
Yeah.
near the Black. That you can include on your Black Hills trip.
We did.
Which we
and
did on
yeah.
our way to
Yeah,
Billings.
we've done that too.
Yep.
Pete.
Well, one that my son has talked about. He doesn't talk about like wanting to do these things very often, and being proactive about saying, "Here's where I want to go." But he has talked about Hawaii, which Jenny and
That
I
was
have
my
been
other
to.
pick there. I was going back and forth.
But Jenny and I have been to, and I think because it's a place that he wants to go, I would like to get us out there before he like graduates and moves on. So I'm
That
putting
would
that on my
be
list.
that would be the next one on my list too. I mean, we've been to Utah, so I tried to pick a place we'd been, but
Specifically Maui. I think it's because we were at
yeah, Maui's
Oahu,
great.
which is Honolulu, which is basically Honolulu is just a big city. So it's like if you want to get the true Hawaii experience, you got to go to Maui or probably one of the other islands.
Yeah.
But
Well, my wife and I went to Maui 2 years ago, and it would have been great to go back to do the same trip with the kid. It was great alone, but it would have been great with the kids as well.
Exactly.
Giff.
All right, I'm going east this time. I'm going Niagara.
That's a good trip that we did, and I had that on my list.
Gonna do some dirty dancing.
Maybe. Not with the kids around.
Well, yeah, right. All right, so I'm assuming you have a few others listed. I got Colorado on my list. You can go lots of ways there. We've been there on a trip as a family. Rocky Mountain and Estes Park, especially. Mexico, it'd be fun just to go spend a weekend on the beach in Mexico.
I had Cancun. That counts.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant, but there's other places too. So I mentioned Dollywood earlier. The Smoky Mountains we've been there as a family because of my sister-in-law. That is a great place to go with kids. There's so many things to do in that area, Eastern Tennessee.
Did you drive or did you fly?
We have flown those times.
Okay.
San Diego, you got the zoo, which we've been to, and Legoland, and there's all kinds of stuff to do there.
Top Gun was filmed.
Universal California, I have that we didn't pick, and now that with the Nintendo World opening, that would be maybe higher on the list. Part of our Alaska trip would have been a cruise, but I also just wrote down going on a cruise. I think would be fun as a family because kids kind of do their own thing. You kind of got that freedom where you can kind of do everything.
Yeah, although I will say this about we went on one cruise ever, and it was just after we got married.
We've only been on one as well.
It's fun, but then after it was a week-long cruise, and after about 4 or 5 days, I was feeling claustrophobic.
Well, our cruise was only 4 days, so there you go.
Oh, well, then you didn't get
Cut
to the
short.
claustrophobia phase.
The only other one I have listed is New York. I would love to go to New York as a family, especially like around Christmas time. That would be really fun to do.
Yeah.
Any others?
That's one we have on our list too.
I just went to New York in March.
Yep.
My mom and I watched my son sing at Carnegie Hall, so that was cool.
Wow.
Here is one that I have on my list that probably will never happen, but it would be fun to do when the kids get old enough. It would be fun to go to Las Vegas as a family.
Oh, I must have
Clark
deleted
Griswold proved you can do that and have a great time.
No, Vegas is become a family destination.
Yeah, you can do anything.
You can, and plus you can go right outside of the city and do all kinds of fun, like Hoover Dam, and there's hiking and Red Rocks or Valley of Fire, Death Valley.
And the Hoover Dam.
There's so much cool stuff. So I had that on my list. I guess I deleted it. Good pick.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And then let's see. I did have another place that we went that we loved, Jenny and I together, but would be fun to go back to is Hilton Head, South Carolina. Was great. I have Key West. Now Jenny keeps saying that's an idiotic place because it's all old people, she says, but
we went there on our cruise actually.
I think it would be cool to see. Another one that we did go to that was a great trip was the Pacific Northwest, where we flew into Portland, we rented a car, we came back home from Seattle, and so we did all of the stuff up there. That was a great trip as well. Seattle's a really cool town. I would like to spend more time there.
Okay. Not so much family vacation, but a nice trip to Pound Town is always good as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Really? That's what we're going with here after this nice family. Wow.
I approve. I approve, Gifford. Great pick.
Do you have any other destinations, Gifford?
No, but I was going to bring up, do you know who the house band is there at the previously mentioned spot, Pete?
Oh, you took my closer.
Taking your job.
He is taking my job, but I think I'm guessing it's Preacher Row.
That is correct.
And the question I had was going to be, what kind of music do they listen to at Hogwarts? That was what I had written down.
I love how he always leans in as he says it.
I believe that's also
Okay.
Preacher Row.
All right, it is Preacher Row.
All right.
Go.
Thanks
Thanks for listening.
Safe travels.
Standing on my own 2 feet. No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. Hands tied, tell me on my back. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared, but there's nothing I can do.